My name is Lucy Lambert, and I'm 33 years old. People always think they can read your life from the outside: a stable job, a decent home, a sweet 5-year-old daughter, a marriage that looked perfectly functional in every Christmas photo. But photographs lie, people lie, and sometimes even you lie to yourself because the truth feels too dangerous to look at directly. I met Dominic Whitford on one of those warm Chicago summer nights that make the whole city feel alive. It was the Millennium Park Jazz Festival, music drifting like smoke, strangers laughing, lights flickering against polished skyscraper glass. I was a freelance graphic designer back then, hustling for clients and dreaming of opening my own studio. Dominic walked up to me holding two ridiculously overpriced festival nachos and said, "You look like someone who deserves a break." I laughed. I shouldn't have let charm work on me so easily, but something about him felt safe, like he saw me. Growing up bouncing between foster homes, safety never came wrapped in a smile, but he made me believe it could. We talked for hours about work, art, the city, and his dreams of building a future grounded in loyalty and family. "You're different, Lucy," he said during our fourth date, when we walked along the lakefront, waves breaking quietly behind us. "Most women don't understand what family means to me. I thought it was admirable then. God, I was naive." 18 months later, he proposed at Navy Pier, with fireworks exploding behind him like some postcard moment. His whole family was there: Vivian and Theodore, his parents, Marcus, his younger brother, even the grandmother, who insisted on hugging me twice. Everyone cheered. Vivian cried and whispered, "Welcome to the family, sweetheart." I remember swallowing the lump in my throat. Family. The word had always felt like a locked door to me. For the first time, I thought I was being invited inside. But marriage doesn't reveal people, it exposes them. The moment I moved into Dominic's Lincoln Park apartment, everything began shifting. His mother, Vivian, had a key before I even finished unpacking. She'd float in unannounced with that tight designer smile and eyes that scanned everything like I was failing an exam I didn't know I was taking. "You really chose this shade of blue?" she'd say, running her manicured fingers over the accent wall as if she could feel my lack of pedigree through the paint. Or she'd lift a quinoa bowl and sigh, "Honey, successful men need real food, not this health trend nonsense." I'd glance at Dominic, waiting, hoping for him to intervene. He never did. "Mom means well," he'd say, kissing her cheek like she was porcelain that might crack. When I got pregnant with Lily, I thought things would get better. I thought a baby would create a barrier, our small family against the world. I was wrong. Vivian scrutinized every bite I took. Too much sugar, too much processed food, too much salt. She touched my belly without asking, murmuring, "My grandchild deserves the best." Dominic sat in the corner, scrolling through his phone, offering a smile but no backbone. When Lily arrived, tiny, soft, perfect, the room smelled like antiseptic, and I remember looking at her dark eyes and thinking, "She's mine. For the first time, something is truly mine." But even that moment didn't belong wholly to me for long. Dominic's loyalty to his family intensified after Lily was born. "Mom needs help with Dad's medication. Marcus is in trouble again. I'll be back in an hour." Sometimes he didn't return at all. Marcus's problems became recurring background noise: lost jobs, unpaid debts, shady friends. Dominic always ran to fix things for him, no matter how irresponsible the behavior. "He's family, Lucy," he'd say. "You don't abandon family." I'd look at Lily playing on the floor with her blocks and quietly wonder, "Then why are you abandoning us?" 5 years passed like that, me juggling freelance deadlines, preschool pickups, bedtime stories, and a marriage that felt increasingly like a 3-against-1 battlefield. Lily once asked, "Why is Daddy always at Grandma's house?" I told her, "He'll be home soon," even when I knew he wouldn't. Then came the Tuesday that changed everything. Dominic walked in with Vivian right behind him. Both had a look I'd only seen a few times: sharp, determined, cold. Lily ran up to hug him, and he didn't even bend down. "Lucy, we need to talk," he said. Vivian wore a smile that looked like it had been polished sharp. "Marcus made some poor choices," she began. Dominic let out a humorless laugh. "He lost $3 million in Las Vegas." $3 million. Air caught in my throat. I managed. "How does someone lose that much?" "High-stakes poker. Dangerous people," he replied. I felt the world tilt. It was awful. Terrifying. But then Vivian said the words that made the terror shift into something else entirely. "We need to sell your condo." I blinked. "My condo?" You want me to sell my pre-marriage condo? Dominic stepped forward, jaw tight. It's the only asset we have liquid enough. Don't argue. This is serious. And where exactly do Lily and I go? I asked quietly. Vivian cut in before he could answer. Real wives support their husband's family obligations. Marcus needs this more than a 5-year-old needs a backup plan. Blood turned to ice in my veins. Dominic added, We both have good jobs. We can rent somewhere. Since when is your brother's gambling addiction our responsibility? I shot back. Since you married into this family, Vivian said softly, stepping closer like a predator. You don't really have a choice here. And then Dominic pulled out a manila folder. I've already contacted a realtor. We just need your signature. Something inside me snapped so cleanly I almost heard it. They thought they could steamroll me, threaten my stability, take my daughter's future. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly suspect, was that I'd already begun preparing for this. Months earlier, when Dominic's priorities shifted so drastically, an old instinct rose inside me, the same instinct that kept me alive in foster care. Protect yourself. Protect what's yours. Behind my calm expression, a plan churned, because I knew something they didn't. The condo wasn't mine to sell anymore, but I wasn't ready to reveal that, not yet. So I looked at Dominic and Vivian, their confident faces, their certainty that they could control me, and I smiled. You're right, I said quietly. I need to think about this properly. And that was the moment everything began to unravel. I barely slept that night. I sat on the edge of Lily's small lavender bed, her tiny breaths even and innocent, and stared at the soft, glow-in-the-dark stars we'd stuck to her ceiling 2 years earlier. She had insisted I place one right above her pillow. So I can always see home, she'd said. Home. The place Vivian and Dominic thought they could rip away from her like it meant nothing. I tucked her blanket higher and whispered a promise into the dark. I won't let them take what's yours. By sunrise, I had already reread the trust documents folded in my dresser drawer, documents that changed everything, documents Vivian and Dominic had no idea existed. Dominic left early for work as if nothing monumental had happened the night before. He kissed Lily's cheek, ignored the heaviness in the room, and walked out the door with a casual, "We'll talk later," loose. Vivian had texted him 3 times before he hit the elevator. Don't let her stall. Keep her focused. She'll come around if you're firm. Firm. They always used words like that, as if I were a stubborn child who needed correction. While Lily ate cereal and hummed songs from preschool, I sat at the kitchen table, hands curled around a cup of coffee I never drank. The condo was quiet, but not peaceful. It felt like something just beneath the surface was vibrating, warning me, urging me to move. By 10 a.m., I had made my decision. I grabbed my phone, stepped into the hallway, and dialed the number I had memorized months ago. Martinez and Associates, this is Carmen speaking. Hi, I said, my voice steady. It's Lucy Lambert. I need to speak with Ms. Martinez. It's urgent. There was no hesitation. Of course, one moment. Within 10 minutes, I was in an Uber headed to a sleek downtown law office with glass walls that reflected the entire city. You could see the river, the traffic, the people, all moving, all oblivious to how someone's entire life could tilt in a single evening. Isabella Martinez was already waiting for me when I arrived. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. The kind of lawyer who could smell lies the way sharks smell blood. Lucy, she said, motioning for me to sit, tell me everything. I did. Every word, every threat, every cold smile from Vivian. Dominic's silence, the manila folder, the line. You don't really have a choice. When I finished, Isabella leaned back slowly, tapping her pen against her notebook. They threatened you with custody, she said, because you refused to sell property you legally placed into a trust months ago? Yes. She set the pen down, a slow, deliberate movement that made the air feel electric. Lucy, do you realize what I'm hearing? I swallowed. Tell me. A slam dunk case, she said. You're sitting on something most women in your situation never have. Documentation, foresight, and a clear trail of coercion. Something inside me loosened, relief mixed with fear, mixed with fury. What do we do next? I asked. Her smile was razor thin. Oh, we go nuclear. By 3 p.m. the papers were drafted. Legal separation, emergency custody petition, restraining order, preventing harassment related to the trust property, documentation showing the condo had been legally transferred into Lily's trust months before. Once these are filed, Isabella said, sliding the stack toward me, Dominic and his mother will be prohibited from pressuring you to sell the condo, and any further threats will only strengthen your case. I signed. My hand shook, but I signed, because choosing fear wasn't an option anymore. Choosing Lily was. Dominic was served the next morning at his downtown office. My phone lit up with missed calls immediately. At 6:02 p.m., the first voicemail dropped. Lucy, what the hell is this? Legal separation? Emergency custody? You blindsided me. Call me back. Right now. 6 minutes later, another voicemail, this time from Vivian. Her voice was shrill, venom dipped. You ungrateful girl. After everything our family has given you, this is how you repay us? You think you can turn on us? You think you can win? I saved every voicemail. For evidence. For protection. For clarity. The pounding started around 8 p.m. I looked through the peephole. Vivian. Her hair was windblown, her lipstick smudged, rage radiating off her like heat from asphalt. Open this door, Lucy. Bang. Do you hear me? Bang, bang. We need to talk. Lily appeared behind me, clutching her stuffed lamb. Mommy, why is Grandma yelling? I knelt and cupped her cheek. Because some people think yelling makes them right. I stood, inhaled once, exhaled twice, then cracked the door open, just enough to slip an envelope through the gap. Vivian snatched it. What's this supposed to be? Proof, I said quietly, that the condo isn't mine to sell. She ripped the flap open, her eyes scanning the trust documents with increasing panic. What is this? What did you... I didn't hide anything, I said. I protected Lily. There's a difference. Her face drained of color, leaving only outrage. You planned this. I planned for my daughter's future, and after what you attempted, I'm grateful I did. I closed the door softly, turned the deadbolt. Vivian screamed, pounded, threatened lawyers, threatened consequences. Then, finally, she left. Lily crawled onto this couch beside me, curling her small body into mine. Mommy, she whispered, are we safe? Absolutely, I said. And for the first time in a long time, I meant it. For the first time in years, the condo felt like mine again. Not because of ownership, Lily's trust made sure of that, but because the air no longer carried Vivian's perfume, Dominic's disapproval, or the quiet dread of waiting for their next intrusion. But peace is never immediate, especially when powerful, entitled people realize they've lost control. The day after Vivian's late-night meltdown, Dominic showed up. He didn't knock, he pounded. I didn't answer. Instead, I stood in the hallway with my phone in hand, recording the entire thing, as Isabella had instructed. Lucy, he shouted, we need to talk. You can't just cut me out of my daughter's life. His daughter. Funny how that line only came out when he needed leverage. He banged again, harder. Open the door, Lucy. We're a family. You don't make decisions like this alone. I stepped back from the door, breathing through the tremor of anger threatening to pull me under. Lily peeked out from her bedroom, hugging her blanket, eyes wide. Is Daddy mad? No, I said gently. Daddy is confused. Confused was kinder than he deserved. After 30 more seconds of useless pounding, Dominic finally left. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text. Dominic, I don't know what Vivian said to you, but you're blowing everything out of proportion. Let's sit down. Talk like adults. Then, Dominic, the condo is just a building, Lucy. Marcus's life is in danger. You're being unreasonable. And then a third. Dominic, Mom says you're becoming unstable. If this goes to court, you know how judges see that. There it was, the mask dropping. Another threat. Another attempt to intimidate me into compliance. I screenshotted everything. 2 days later, Dominic's attorney filed a motion claiming I had unilaterally removed marital assets and was alienating Lily from her father. Isabella nearly laughed when she read it. He's panicking, she said, flipping the pages. He knows the trust is airtight. This is nothing but noise. Still, the knot in my stomach tightened. Will this hurt us? I asked. No, she said firmly. If anything, it strengthens your position. Judges despise financial coercion involving children. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. Lucy, women don't usually plan ahead like this. You protected Lily before you even knew you'd need to. That foresight, judges love that. Something in me cracked, something small, something that had been straining for years. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me yet, she replied. Save it for when we're done burning down the Whitford strategy. By the end of the week, Dominic had filed 2 more motions, both immediately shut down by the court. Vivian attempted to contact me through 3 different numbers, all blocked. The restraining order Isabella filed was granted within 48 hours. The moment the judge's signature hit the papers, the constant thrum of fear in my chest loosened. Nighttime became quiet again. I could finally hear myself think. Then came the confrontation I didn't expect. Not from Dominic, not from Vivian, but from Theodore. He showed up one morning, ringing the doorbell softly, almost apologetically. I opened the door, but left the chain latched. He looked older than I remembered, more tired, less polished. "Lucy," he said, "may I speak to you?" I hesitated but nodded. Through the crack in the door, I saw he wasn't holding papers or files, just a worn envelope. "I didn't know what Vivian and Dominic planned," he said quietly. "If I had known they'd threaten Lily, I would have stopped it." A part of me softened, a small part. But another part, the part that had slept on foster care mattresses and learned to read danger faster than fairy tales, kept me guarded. Theodore handed me the envelope. "It's for Lily," he said. "Please, don't punish her for our mistakes." I didn't open it until later. Inside was a simple birthday card with $100 and a handwritten note that said, "From a grandfather who should have protected you." I sat on the couch for a long time, staring at that line, feeling the weight of what-ifs. What if he had intervened? What if Dominic had chosen us? What if Vivian hadn't poisoned every moment of our marriage? But what if is a dead-end question. Reality was already in motion. As Dominic and Vivian scrambled, their control slipping like sand between their fingers, Lily and I started building our new rhythm. No more slammed doors, no more whispered arguments, no more pretending we were a happy family. I colored with Lily at the kitchen island. I answered client emails without fear of Vivian barging through the door. I slept through the night without waiting for Dominic's footsteps at 3 a.m. One evening, far later into the process, Lily and I were playing with her block castle when she asked, "Mommy, are we moving soon?" I froze. "Why would you think that?" She shrugged. "Daddy said houses aren't forever." I felt a flash of anger. Clean, cold, precise. I pulled her into my arms. "Baby, this is your home. No one is taking it from you. Ever." Her small fingers curled into my shirt. "Promise?" "I promise," I whispered. Mommy already made sure of it. By the end of the month, Dominic's world was collapsing. Vivian's influence couldn't shield him from judges who had seen too many cases like mine. Marcus was still being hunted by loan sharks across the city. Dominic's finances were unraveling. Their perfect family image was fracturing. The harder they fought to maintain control, the faster everything crumbled. And I was getting stronger. Every day, every decision, every time I put Lily's safety above my fear. For years, I bent myself into shapes that kept their family comfortable. Now, I was done bending. I was done being quiet. I was done choosing them. This time, I chose us. In the end, everything unraveled faster than I expected. Not for me, but for them. For the Whitfords, control wasn't a preference. It was oxygen. Take it away, and suddenly they couldn't breathe. The divorce hearing lasted exactly 19 minutes. Dominic's attorney came in confident, armed with accusations about hidden marital assets and claims I had sabotaged the family's financial stability. He barely finished the first sentence before Judge Harmon raised a hand. "Mr. Whitford," the judge said, adjusting his glasses, "this trust was established before any marital conflict, fully documented and clearly designed for the minor child's benefit. Furthermore," he flipped through a folder, "your wife's provided recordings and written threats from your mother create significant concern." Vivian sank lower in her seat. Dominic's jaw tightened. I felt myself breathe. A real breath, a clean one. By the time the judge reached the end of his ruling, the words that echoed loudest were, "The trust is legally protected. The mother retains primary custody. Motion denied." Vivian made a small choking sound, somewhere between outrage and disbelief. Dominic didn't look at me at all. I walked out of that courtroom with Lily's little hand in mine and sunlight hitting my face like a blessing I had earned. In the weeks that followed, the dominoes fell hard. Marcus disappeared first, not in a tragic way, just in the frantic, tail-between-the-legs manner of someone who finally ran out of money and excuses. Word spread quickly. He'd fled Chicago after a loan shark incident. They said he was doing construction in Phoenix now. I didn't care about him, but I cared what his absence meant. Dominic no longer had a brother to sacrifice us for. Dominic was next. When the legal dust settled, when every argument he tried to make fell apart, he moved into a tiny studio in Wicker Park, with one Murphy bed shared between him and the mess Marcus left behind. His world shrank, mine expanded. Vivian retreated last. After her attorney explained the consequences of threatening custody over trust property, consequences that could have landed her in legal trouble, she went quiet. No calls, no visits, no more pounding on my door demanding compliance. People like Vivian don't apologize. Silence is their apology. And I accepted it. Life didn't magically heal overnight. Healing rarely works that way. But Lily and I found our rhythm. Friday movie nights with popcorn piled too high. Saturday pancake mornings where we compete to see whose animal pancake looks less like an accident. Quiet evenings where she colors while I design logos or sketch out ideas for clients. I realized something unexpected. When fear left the house, space returned. Space to breathe, space to dream, space to live. My design business grew, really grew, now that emotional chaos wasn't eating every hour of my day. I took on new clients, rebuilt my portfolio, and found myself excited to work again. One afternoon, Lily ran into my office holding a drawing of our home, a crooked little square with a purple roof. "This is us," she said proudly. "This is our forever home." I nearly cried, because she was right, and because she'd finally stopped asking when Daddy was coming back. But Dominic didn't stop asking about us. He tried calling a few times, then texting. Finally, weeks later, I got the message that made me sit down. "Dominic, I miss you both. I made a mistake. Can we talk?" My first instinct was anger, hot and sharp. Then sadness, cold and quiet. But in the end, I felt something else, something solid. Clarity. Some mistakes don't earn do-overs. Some people don't get another chance to rewrite the damage they caused. And I didn't owe him forgiveness just because he finally understood the devastation he'd helped create. So I did the simplest thing. I didn't respond. One evening, as Lily and I colored together, she asked, "Mommy, why doesn't Daddy live here anymore?" I set my crayon down. "Sometimes," I said carefully, "grown-ups make choices that hurt the people they love. And when that happens, the people who got hurt have to make choices too, choices that keep them safe." She studied me with her dark, serious eyes, the same eyes she got from Dominic. "Did you keep us safe?" I pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. "I did my very best." She nodded, satisfied, and returned to her drawing. Her trust in me was the one thing Vivian and Dominic had never been able to touch. People think family means unconditional loyalty, that you swallow every insult, overlook every betrayal, and keep saying yes, even when it destroys you. But loyalty without boundaries is just self-sacrifice, and family without respect isn't family, it's captivity. Vivian once told me I didn't have a choice. She was right. I didn't have a choice, but not in the way she meant. I chose my daughter. I chose our future. I chose peace over chaos, respect over fear, truth over manipulation. And I'd make that choice again every single time. Because here's something I learned the hard way. The people who benefit from your silence will always call your voice betrayal. Dominic and his mother saw my preparation as deception, but it wasn't deception. It was survival. Lily's condo, her future, is now protected, growing in value, secured in ways my own life never was as a child drifting between foster homes. My daughter will have choices, real choices, ones I had to fight tooth and bone to give her. So tell me, was I wrong? What would you have done? Because sometimes the only way to save yourself and the person you love most is to walk away. And walking away was the strongest thing I've ever done.